Oh, I see it.
God damn.
Says
Well,
live.
anyway, we're down to 7 days before we go, and we always expect to get an October surprise. We finally got one this year, but we didn't think it would be Trump shooting himself in the head at the Madison Square Garden rally, where they decided to go get the most unfunny comedian they could find, the shocked edgelord. Well, we'll call him a comedian for lack of a better word, Tony Hinchcliffe, who came out and proceeded to not understand that there are millions of Puerto Ricans that live in New York, Pennsylvania, and Florida, and proceeded to tell everybody that they live on a floating pile of garbage. But no, wait, he didn't stop there. No, let's go talk about Hispanics and how they love to fucking make babies, and that's all they do because they just came into the country just to do that.
Yeah.
You know it's bad when immediately you have Republican slimy ass politicians all of a sudden falling all over themselves to disavow this guy. I mean, you've got Rick Scott, one of the biggest criminals in the U.S. Senate. All of a sudden, oh man, it's like I love Puerto Ricans, and Marco Rubio is like falling all over himself to get back out of it. There's a congressman in New York who's Puerto Rican, but a Republican, go figure. Saying, well, wait, you're talking about my people. I'm one of the good ones.
Mm-hmm.
We have, now crossed into a territory that we haven't seen in decades. The Madison Square Garden was chosen on purpose.
Yep.
They wanted to replicate the actual Nazi rally they had in 1936, which they managed to hit all the high points and, pull out all the, the oldies but goodies about how the immigrants are coming in to steal your jobs, your wives and girls, and and take everything you own. But they went way above and beyond that. They came up with all sorts of new good stuff. The piece de resistance was Trump coming in at the very end and sitting there wallowing on stage for about 40 minutes, saying nothing, and making it so that there's no disavowal, that this could be bad. But the realization hit him after it, because then all of a sudden his minions that were his handlers were doing everything they could to bail water and get him out of this jam. Because right now, according to my calculations, there are some 700,000 Puerto Ricans that live in Pennsylvania. Considering how close it was, all it's going to take is just 10% of those to vote, and this election's over. Florida.
Oh, fingers crossed.
God, there's like close to 1 million Puerto Ricans that live in Florida. And needless to say, they're a little peeved right now. It's like they're talking about taking the trash out on November 5th, and they're not talking about voting for Trump anymore. So we have a surprise, and I think it's done more to finally close. It's like you're making your clothes, and Trump made the clothes, but it was shutting the door on himself. I mean, Stacey, what did you see?
I saw the same thing you saw, and I was disgusted, like knowing how many people in my life are still supporting this awful human being. I talked to one of my friends today, and we're both like, what are they seeing that we're not? It's just showing those people's characters. I can't stand it. I'm like so tired. Are you tired yet?
I mean, from my standpoint, it's like if you've ever seen the original movie, The Producers, the one with Mel Brooks, was actually funny. There's a scene where it's the first act, and they come out and they're doing, don't be stupid, be a smarty, come and join the Nazi party. And, they show the reaction in the crowd, and it's just like, I think pretty much if you were, had any empathy in you all, that was the way when you saw this comedian go do his stuff. I mean, you're just going, am I like,
not
only
that comedian, but what about the guy that said anybody against him should be slaughtered?
Well, yeah, then they went off down that line too. So it's like,
I'm one that's going to be slaughtered because I'm against him.
Well, again, and one of the things that Trump did when he was talking about, talking about, the other, and how, we've got the enemy within. I mean, these are all classic Nazi tropes that they used back in the 30s.
Same language, and it's not an accident.
Yeah, when you come out and you're saying that, if you get elected, you're going to take the military and turn it on American citizens.
Yeah.
Well, any of you Q Trumpicans that have to be watching this, it's not going to be peaceful. And I can goddamn well guarantee you're going to get a fight. You're going to get a fight. So, fuck around and find out, come November 6th.
You're saying what I'm feeling. You're using the words I want to use. I'm telling you, that's my word that I use when I'm angry, and I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it at this last week, that's left. Just everything they're trying to do, The Secret, which we all already knew.
And the thing is, that's something that should really worry you, because you've got Trump and Mike Johnson, who have been concocting something that, knowing their history, that if for some reason, which I cannot possibly see happening, if Mike Johnson retained the speakership, he just wouldn't certify the election.
Exactly. I've been saying that for a really long time.
And again, Mikey, you Christian nationalist fuck, you want to try that? Mm-hmm. You're going to have massive, massive protests and violence in this regard.
Yes.
Goddamn well guarantee it, you little Christian fuck.
Ooh, they got you fired up today.
Well, I mean, we're at that point where we need to be fired up, and it's like,
I've been fired up.
I'm looking at the reaction of the other side and what's going on. It's like, you go back to Washington and Oregon, guys are going around throwing incendiary devices in ballot drop boxes, and it's not bad enough that the only reason that they didn't burn it up is they've got fire suppression inside the box, which means they were sort of figuring something like that might happen. So
I said Oregon, Washington, and Arizona. That happened, right? Even in Arizona.
Plus, we had the one guy who had 2,000 guns, 250,000 rounds of ammunition, and was firing at the Democratic National Headquarters. But he wasn't doing it because he was trying to make a political statement. So,
right.
Yeah. Well, tell it to the judge.
Yeah.
God. What you need to take solace in is the early voting trends have been going one way, and it's been going pretty strongly. It's like actually the Republicans have turned in more ballots than the Democrats or the independents. Now, the Democrats and independents are larger than that. But from my, and again, this is all anecdotal, but, from what I've been observing, those Republican voters, they're the ones that were never Trumpers, Nikki Haley voters, or Republican women that are so incensed by the Roe decision that they're not telling their husbands what they're doing, but they're getting in the ballot box and sending it. It does not take a huge percentage to make that something that swings states. So I keep seeing this stuff where Trump has some slight lead in Arizona. Well, it's like, with what polls? Who are you talking to? Because I guarantee you're not talking to Gen Z. You're not talking to the never Trump Republicans. I mean, it's like even if you just go with the ones I've seen on TV, officially coming out, you're talking about thousands of people that were Trump voters that are not being Trump voters.
We have that, but we also have the youth vote that I think is stepping up from my daughter's perspectives. They're not sitting back this time. They're getting wind of it from their families.
Well, again, I vote, especially when you look at the female side. I mean, from the early trends are the votes that have been turned in are 60% female.
Yeah.
When you look at those type of numbers, I'm pretty sure that they're not out there going to all that trouble to get ballots in early because they wanted to see Trump come in and take even more stuff away. So
amen to that. That's what I'm running on, that hope right there, that the women are showing up more than the men, and there's a reason on both sides. There's just too many of us that are not going to accept taking our power of our rights and power away from us,
So, following along on that line, and again, Mike, we miss you. But,
Yeah.
Mike and I have been, going back and forth with this for quite some time, and I've
Yeah.
always the opinion that, we're not picking up Harris voters in the polling that's being done. And also you have GOP polling that is
Yeah.
basically fake polling that they're putting
Yeah.
out to skew the average polling.
And
like
that's what I was thinking is because anybody I talk to, they're like, how is it so close? How are those polls? I haven't heard anybody go, yep, that's the way it is. That we're just like all questioning it. Well, how and why? Because
well,
it's not making any sense.
well, it's actually, it makes perfect sense if you look at it
Mhm.
from a strategy standpoint. From the
Okay. Yeah.
you want to try to make it so that you
They
dispirit
come out. We come
side,
out.
so that
Okay.
it's like she can't win, so why should I vote? And
Yeah. Okay.
I've taken sort of the same tack, about a year and a half ago when I started really ramping up my political posting. Hopefully the Q Trumplican side are going to be dispirited, because it's like, I look at it that, Trump knows he's in deep trouble. And if he, for some reason, is not sworn in on president on January 21st, he's going to prison. And most
Yeah.
likely the remaining days of his miserable life.
Yeah.
Because at 78 and going downhill, he ain't making it to 90. He's not making it to 85. I mean, he's, the clock's ticking on him. And so,
That's what my husband says too.
yeah, I mean, so, for a guy like that, I mean, his biggest, terror at night that comes and haunts him is him spending time in a cell with a locked door.
That's
And,
why I know he'll do anything.
oh, yeah,
Anything.
yeah. But he's doing anything, which leads us to the point that, it's like we brought up Mike Johnson and what they're doing. They've ramped up, pretty much a 50 statewide apparatus to cause chaos legally after the election. I mean, I fully suspect that election night, before, probably even, 4 or 5 states could come in, that Trump is going to declare himself the winner.
Yeah.
And they're immediately going to start filing lawsuits left and right. Definitely in any of the swing states, Georgia, any place that's turning out to be close, which, now all of a sudden, you've got Texas and Florida in play, because who do they have a lot of? Latinos, Puerto Ricans. And it's going to come down. Are they going to change their vote or not? And so, the anger in the Puerto Rican community seems real. It seems palpable. And it seems like one of those things that, being, from a culture that's, fairly tight knit, family oriented, I can see, the madre and, coming in and talking to, her children and saying, we can't have this, this is only one way to vote here. And, I don't know how much influence she's going to have, but, I'm surmising there will be some. And I think that's enough that, not only do you put Florida in play, but, now I think that it's a toss up.
Yeah, on my Threads feed, I'm getting a lot of. I understand the assignment. With like Arizonians that are a lot of Puerto Ricans today were popping up on mine. Understanding the assignment, gathering up their big, large families. Just hopeful with that. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, the thing is when you go back and look historically, one of the the big arguments that J.D. Vance and the Republicans are making, that it's really bad to call not Hitler, but Donald J. Trump, the fascist. And the shoe fits. But probably a better term at this point in history is to call him a demagogue. And it's like, when you go back and look at the history of the U.S., the founders of this country foresaw Trump and just what he could do. And in fact, when you look at the Federalist Papers, they talked about what a demagogue would do, and they described it to a T. How that they would come in, try to use populism and try to get people turned against each other, and create a problem then that only they could solve. And so, what does Trump say? I'm the only one that can solve the problem, baby.
I alone. That's what he says. He did exactly what they described a demagogue to do. I mean, that is the definition of him. He is that. I'm with you on that one too.
Oh, well, God, it's like, where do we go from here? It's like, I mean, it's like, now, uh, you know, I, I think we're getting to the point where you have to look at, your closing arguments are coming right now.
Yeah.
Trump made his at Madison Square Garden, which to me it's going to be a electoral disaster that is so epic that it's one of those. I mean, one, they're going to be talking about this campaign for decades, if not hundreds of years. I mean, to me, it's going to be on par of what happened in 70 BC in Rome when they went from republic to empire. We're right on that precipice. I'm hoping that we can scoot by, but we've identified a huge fault line and also a fundamental problem with the way this country is set up, that they set up the electoral college to keep, we're not really a democracy when it comes to the president. There's a whole
You're right.
machinery that sits between my vote and your vote. And the fact that right now our votes in Arizona count for a lot.
Yeah.
If you're in California, New York, or Texas, not so much, at least Texas historically, because, it's pre-ordered how the vote was going to come out. So, the only way that you're going to save this is to win big, and then get rid of the electoral college, immediately, because you cannot have it so that you have the ability of, these political demagogues and basically southern states that are all Christian nationalists, they're all white people, scared to death that, some person of color is, going to take their job. And it's like, I don't know if you've checked lately, but, the economy, I mean, there's jobs, you want a job, you can find it. It's impossible not to find the job. I mean, if you've got any skill training, I mean, even unskilled jobs are having a problem. And for Trump to come out and say, I'm going to deport 1, 2, 10, 20 million people is one, it's physically impossible to do that. It's like, even the Germans couldn't easily move around 6 million Jews to kill them. So, you're talking, the involvement of basically the entire transportation machinery of the U.S. for months, if not years at a time, to do this.
And in his speech, he said day one. He's going to do that day one.
And again, try it, walk around, find out, Donald.
He's
not
awful.
to mention the fact that right now, demographically, the U.S. is one of the few countries that is not already losing population. China, they've had this one baby policy for so long that they've been way below replacement. And they're actually, last year, their population went down. Europe has been below replacement for, probably going on 20, 30 years now. I mean, it's like Italy, they're in a world of hurt because they're at like 0.87 babies per woman over her lifetime. And the problem is that the young, it's one of those things that feeds on itself. If the next generation is smaller than the last, there's not that many women around to have more babies.
Right.
So it actually feeds on itself. And it's like, and then once, it's like in J.D. Vance's crude terms, once, you can't have babies anymore, what use are you as a woman? Well, the one thing is that from a math standpoint, you're not there to have babies, so you can't add. And
to speak on that, one of my friends, she went and she lives in Georgia, but I don't know if this happened in Texas or Georgia. I would need to clarify that, but she was pumping her own gas at the gas station, and this guy gets out of his car and he just looks, and she is beautiful, by the way, and he looks at her in disgust. And she's like, what the heck was that about? So she gets in her car, he pulls in front of her and she sees a sticker and she's like, I wonder what that sticker, what's that? Guess what it was? It was Proud Boy.
Oh, even worse.
Yeah. So she explained to me how they want women in the house having, they don't want them to have any kind of rights, and so.
One of the, well, Mark Robinson, that, flaming
Yes. Oh
dog shit,
God.
China, has outright called for taking the vote away from women and having them go back and be pregnant in
Yes.
the kitchen.
Yep.
So I guess he's worried about demographics too, but just in a little bit different way. So.
Yeah. I love Kamala's ad, the one where this one guy was speaking, saying, "Oh, the women should just go back into the house or whatever," and it showed them as doctors, and all that. I love that ad. But yeah, it's bad. I'm waiting for Kamala's speech tonight. I can't wait.
Well, I'm predicting that it's going to be a speech that is not going to focus. In fact, I doubt she even mentions Trump, because the whole thing is, this is your time to come out, be positive, say this is the society I want to create. It's like I certainly hope she does. This is not something where she should be doing grievances about any of the attacks. Kamala, I will do the attacking. You be positive.
I love that. It's hard. Some of my friends that I thought would go his way aren't going his way, but then there's a couple that I never thought would go his way that are, and I'm like, wow.
Well,
I can't even tell who's who, because some are just like lying to our faces. I guess I don't get it, but I try to figure out why. Like, one has money, and then one, it's religion. She has a podcast, and I started listening to it, and it was horrible. It was talking about the devil and the abortion clinics outside of the DNC convention, and anyways, it was just, I'm so disgusted by all these people.
But anyway, I wanted to come back and finish the thought about our immigrants, both legal, illegal, and however they got here.
Right.
The only reason that we are not in like a horrible spot is because we do have these immigrants here.
Yes.
And in fact, we need more of them, because right now, for the old line, both, if you're a native born person here and you're a woman, you're having, on average, we're now at 1 point, I can't remember what it was, like 1.2 babies per woman, which is 0.1 to 2.2 is considered just break-even replacement. If you're having that many babies, your society's static. And the thing is, America's economy has been based since it started 400 years ago on growth.
Yes.
The way, you may argue with the way we've grown, and, I'm not even going to get into a lot of the different issues.
Yeah.
But it's still predicated on growth. And also, that we've been able to keep renewing ourselves with people with new energy, new ideas, cultures, which has made us the envy of the world. We are not only are we stronger economically than anybody in the world, despite our current political problems, we are stronger than any other society, probably since, Rome during the Republic. You have to go back a long way. And even back then, Rome's, economy was being propped up by slavery. It's like, sort of like ours was for the first 300 years. So, you go back to 2,000 years before that, and, ancient Greece and Sparta, and their economy was definitely based on slavery. For every citizen in Athens, there are at least 10 slaves propping up the economy. But I'm getting dinged because we're not live streaming right now. So we'll figure this out for the next time around, because I'm not sure what I'm doing. But the point being is that we have to fix our immigration system pronto. It's like this idea, well, we're only going to let in PhDs from everybody else. It's like, no, it's like we need a whole gamut of people coming in, because, as we age, it's like right now, we have no one around to take care of our elderly. It's like to find a nursing home that's actually, is adequately staffed is getting really hard to do. And it's like one of the biggest, scandals we've got going on are these corporate nursing home people that are sweeping stuff under the rug. So granny's coming up with bed sores.
Oh,
I mean, it's just a whole host of problems. Well, I hope not to ever have to, be in that situation. But, most people, they don't have the family structure set up to do that anymore. We're not a rural nation with, multiple generations living in the same house or next door to each other where, as grandma and grandpa or even great grandma and grandpa, near the end of their lives, there was people around to look in on them and help take care of them. And, now that's not happening. And so
I'm worried about my mom, my dad and stepmom, because they're out in Texas. They don't have many people around that are. I'm here in Arizona, so I love her plan of home health care being covered by insurance if she gets in there and makes that change. It's something that made me kind of go, oh, that's a great idea, because I may need it since I'm so far away, but yes, we'll need people.
But, I just go based on my experience that only goes so far.
Really?
With my parents at the end of their life. And so, they can
health.
take care of themselves with help up to a certain point, but then even that, it becomes inadequate. And, you have to do something that, is basically, gets beyond in-home healthcare. You're talking nursing home or, some type of institutional care. So, you multiply that, especially in the baby boom generation, which I'm in, which is going to be, 10, 20, 30 million people. That's a lot of people. It's like that's going to be a huge problem. Unless you just look at it that, well, we're just going to kick it under the rug, ignore it, and just let them die off, which is I think what the plan is on the GOP side. So.
Yeah, because what did Trump say about his own nephew that had, he's like, why don't you just let him die?
Yeah. I mean, it's like if he's going to do that to his own family member, he's going to have no problem doing it.
I know. He has
he doesn't know and definitely doesn't care about. So I guess, for right now, we're 7 days out. We've talked about
it's going to be the longest 7 days of our lives.
Oh yeah. I mean, this is like, you're 6 years old. Christmas is in a week. And, you're expecting really good presents, but, also you just don't know yet. So, and it's like, it's going to be a, Monday night next week, it's going to be a long.
I just hope the first numbers that come in are so far against him. I'm hoping. Hope.
Well, anyway, I've run through the things and topics I think, that we need to talk about. I could go into doing predictions, but, it's like we're so close right now. We're not going to have any polls that mean anything for the next 7 days. Mm-hmm. And, these, I think the one thing that's still out there is, I can't imagine how they can be undecided, but, how they break is going to make a difference. And also there is a contingent of people that the only time they pay attention to politics is in the last few days before the election. They vote once every 4 years during the presidential election, and they're making up their minds right now. And it's like, I what happened under Trump, and
if they're seeing what we're seeing, come on, there is no.
But again, it's like, that's where I have to look at, where you're getting your information from.
Like that makes a difference.
If you're getting it from white ring sources, Madison Square Garden was an electric atmosphere and spot on, as far as the message they gave. That was, literally, that was Fox News's initial take, before all of a sudden they said, oh, crap, he didn't really say that, did he? So
earlier, I happened to glance up and Megyn Kelly was talking, and she was saying how this is like a bro fest. And she's usually for him, right? She's not. I don't like her, by the way, but anyways, even she came out and was like, Geraldo Rivera came out and just, he was also for him for a while. But
so anyway, I've got two thoughts I'm going to end on. Okay. One is, if you're going to be a comedian, you need to be funny. And, Tony Hinchcliffe's biggest sin during all this, he wasn't funny. No. It's like I've heard arguments. Well, Don Rickles, he said stuff that was, where he was, saying some really nasty things about people. And it's like, well, no, he wasn't saying them about, he was saying them to them. And he was also disparaging himself at the same time. And he went after the bigwigs. When he was at the inaugural for Ronald Reagan, yeah, he made a lot of very, off-color ethnic type jokes, but he went after Nancy and Ronald, just ripping into them. Tony didn't do that with Donald. That would have been the equivalent of him turning around looking at Donald, you're a fat, worthless piece of shit that doesn't deserve to be president. He didn't do that. And I mean, Don Rickles even made fun of the chairman of the board, Frank Sinatra himself. And I mean, it's like you could see it, some of them, when you go back and look at those roasts that, Frank esteemed, but Rickles still did it, because there was no target that he wouldn't go after. This one was targeting only the weak, the helpless, the minorities. And, as far as I'm concerned, they did us a huge favor. So Tony, that stuff, please don't stop.
Did you hear that Trump said he didn't hear it?
Oh yeah, well that's always the excuse. I don't know this guy. I didn't hear this. So I didn't. It's like I acknowledge none of this.
I don't know him. I didn't invite him.
Even though my staff vetted everything that was said, because
and the teleprompter, they said it was all up on there. So
they did take out calling
yeah.
C word. That was crossed the line, but saying that Puerto Ricans live on a floating pile of garbage, that's okay. So anyway, to talk about for next week, obviously that's Tuesday, that's the election night. That's going to be something that's going to be special. I think we're going to start a little later. We'll start as the returns are coming in. We're not going to really have a format that we're this is just going to be us, sitting around. I'll probably have a bottle of wine and, sitting in front of me as I watch the stuff come in. So it's either going to be drowning sorrows or celebrating, one of the two.
I'm going to need something stronger.
So anyway, we also hope to welcome back Mike, and he's supposed to be, crazed out of his mind on Dilaudid because he's going to have a new knee at that point.
Oh, really?
And Ken is supposed to be back from his traipsing around in Norway and Iceland and, climbs far north. And hopefully, Louis, you get a internet connection that'll work.
Oh, no. Is that why you didn't?
Louis was, he's out on business. And
oh, he is. Okay.
Unfortunately, he's not staying at, a good hotel, I guess.
Hey, did you see Bannon got released today?
I know.
Came out. Yeah.
Yeah, the AA he's attended a meeting, got his 4-month sober coin today. So,
well, he didn't learn anything from being put away for a little bit because he's still, saying that.
That's where I'm hoping that he's still under indictment for a bunch of stuff, so he's got time to spend a lot more time in prison. Hopefully, he'll get learned up there.
Yeah, all of them. So sick of them all.
Stacey, anything you got to say?
No, I think we kind of went over everything. Just ready for it all to be over, at least next stage. And I hope they all, the returns come back and it's just a blue wave.
For the people that see this, one, have faith. Especially if you're looking at, you're a Kamala fan. I think that, my take is that still, this is not it's not as close as they think. I think this is going to be,
that's my hope.
We may even know who wins that night. I'm not counting on it. I'm not, but I'm not betting that it would happen. But if it happened, that would not shock me, because
go ahead.
I think there's enough pissed off women out there that there's going to be a lot of races that are surprises.
Yeah, and I think we're just all so nervous, and we're all feeling the same exact way when I talk to people who are with us. We're just, we're hopeful, but we're just so freaking nervous because of how crooked they all are.
Well, we're keep running, keep reaching out to people that
Yeah.
If they haven't voted, get them to vote. And again, I'm just going to qualify only if they're going to vote for Kamala Harris and the Democrats.
Hey,
If they're voting for Trump, tell them,
stay home.
but don't tell them stay home. Just tell them remember to vote on November 8th.
Okay. And my daughter's boyfriend did get his ballot, so we got it already
Good.
dropped
Excellent.
off. We so excited. That was my best day. Sunday they came over and had it in their hand, and so we got it in the mail. So happy about that.
So for next week, we'll send out information on our usual channels on Facebook and Street Fight Politics. What time we'll actually get started.
Okay.
Our normal time. There may be some early returns from the East Coast, but I figure we'll probably get started 2 hours later than our normal start. And I know that for Mike, that's getting late for him, but he's gonna be so out of his mind on Percocet.
Yeah. Bless his heart. So he's getting a knee replaced. Okay. Good luck to that. My husband, he's doing better. So
Good.
Neck
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we'll see you pretty much like almost exactly a week from now.
And we're going to be celebrating.
Okay. Yes, we will. Okay, guys, have fun. We'll see you then.
Bye. All right, honey. I think we're done. Mm-hmm. No, we did.